Hey y'all, it's Miss A. Today we are looking at our last section of the proportion notes for STAAR review, which is the part whole percent. This is our last week of STAAR review. Our STAAR test is next week. If you are one of my remote kids and you are watching this, I really need y'all to join me on Zoom today so I can talk to y'all for a couple minutes about something, just to clarify and make sure we're on the same page. So my remote kids who should be watching this video, we'll see how many actually are, I need y'all to join me on Zoom at some point today. Make sure it's not between the time of my lunch, 11:30 to 12, and not during my PLC time, which is 2:30 to 3:30, basically. And if for some reason you try to join and it doesn't come up, if it says I haven't started it yet, just give me, try again at another time. Sometimes it closes on accident, I don't realize it, or I forget to open it after lunch or something. So it takes me a little while longer. But please join me on Zoom so I can talk to you just really quickly about next week. Okay, so our last section, like I said, was part whole percent. Again, we're still going to be setting up our WKUs or our proportions to help us solve these. But the top part says part equals, so when you're finding the part, it is equal to the percent, I'm just going to put a percent symbol, percent times the whole. Okay, and we'll see that more later on. Like I said, we are going to use a proportion with percentages to solve. We must decide if the quantities given represent the whole unit and which represent the partial units. Sometimes the number that gives you, you're going to put at the bottom because it's your whole. Sometimes they're going to give you a part, so you can put the top. Sometimes they're going to give you two parts, so you have to actually add together to get your whole. So these can be a little bit tricky, but WKUs will help you tremendously. The whole for a percent is always 100%. Percentage is always out of 100. And it must be set up correctly. Like I always mention in every single section, make sure you label. Labeling just helps you ensure that you're setting it up in the right spots. So the first one here starts pretty simple. We're finding the part. It says what number is 10% of 56. Oh, sorry guys. So you can see here they have a proportion already set up. This right here is their word ratio. Now because this isn't a word problem, they just use the words part and whole. That's just definition of a fraction, part of a whole. It's always going to be in that order. And then it says 10%, so they put 10 over 100. That is my known ratio. So anytime you know the percent, you put the percentage over the number 100. If you don't know the percent, we'll see here in a second, you can't put a number over 100, but you can put X over 100. When we don't know something, we use an X. All right, so the percentage is what we know, 10 over 100, 10% over 100. And then it says of 56. So 56 is considered my whole here, so we would put it at the bottom with my variable on top. So now we're going to solve this proportion. So I have it written back here. So all I took out was the K and the U part, the number part. We don't need the words anymore, the part and the whole. And we're going to solve this. So I could go immediately into cross multiply 10 times 56 and then divide by 100. I could try to find a relationship here from 100 to 56, but that definitely doesn't work. I can't get from 100 down to 56. I don't really want to cross multiply and divide yet because the numbers are big. So I'm going to try to simplify this first the best I can and then go from there. All right, so these both end in a 0. So the easiest thing I can do is divide by 10, which is even easier because all I have to do here is cross them off. Because if I divide 10 by 10, I get 1. If I divide 100 by 10, I get 10. You can see that's what's left, 1 over 10. So just cross off those zeros when they're at the end. And then we still have equal to X over 56. So again, that relationship here doesn't help me. I can't get from 10 to 56. But now when I cross multiply, all I have to do is 1 times 56. Much easier than over here. So 56 times 1 is 56. And then we're going to take 56 and divide it by that third number, which in this case is 10. So 100 can't go into 5. I'm not 110. 10 can't go into 5. 10 can go into 56 5 times, which is 50. Subtract, we get 6. Got a remainder, so I'm going to add a decimal and a 0. And then 10 goes into 60 6 times. So my answer is 5.6. So again, to solve the proportions, we're just cross multiplying and dividing. try to find that relationship going across. Like if this was a 50, I could just do 10 times 5 is 50, 1 times 5 is 5. But if you can't see that relationship, or if there isn't one, cross, multiply, and divide is your next step. All right. Oh, this was my U. I didn't put it here. This was my unknown column, x over 56. All right, the next one says find the percentage. So it says 15 is what percent, so we don't know the percentage, of 90. So again, my word ratio, because it really isn't a word problem, they put part over whole. Now here's where I differ. I would put my x always at the end in my unknown column. So this is my known ratio. I know that 15 is my part, and then 90 is my whole. It should always be a proper fraction. You should never put the bigger number at the top. And then when it says what percent, like up here, we knew the percentage was 10, so we put 10 over 100. But when you don't know the percent, you put x over 100. So again, I would flip these two. I would put the 15 over 90 first, and the x over 100 second in the u. So you're going to see I'm going to do that here in a second. So I'm going to flip these two. There we go. So now I've got that fraction, 15 over 90 equals x over 100. And again, I'm going to look for that relationship, which can't do. The relationship has to be through multiplying or dividing, not adding. So I don't really want to cross multiply and then divide by 90, so I'm going to try to simplify. So 15 and 90, both numbers end in a 5 or a 0, so I know I can divide it by 5 for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So 15 divided by 5 is 3, and then 90 divided by 5 is 18. And then this, if I were to put, I still can't get from 18 to 100. So we can try to reduce it again and see if I can. But definitely want to reduce this again because I don't want to divide that by the 18 in the end. I need to slow down. All right, so this I know has a common factor of 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then 18 divided by 3 is 6. So that's the lowest I can go. 1 over 6, so that's what this converted down or reduced down into. 15 became 1, 90 became 6, and I still have my x over 100. So again, there's no proportion here. I can't, or relationship. I can't get from 6 to 100 by multiplying, but all I have to do now is 100 times 1, which is 100. And all I have left is to divide by the number 6. Again, much rather divide by 6 than over here, I would have had to divide by 90. I'd much rather do the 6. All right, so 6 can't go into 1. 6 can go into 10. 6 can go into to 40 6 times, which is 36. Subtract, we get 4. Add a decimal and a 0, bring it down. Goes in 6 times, which is 36. So if you notice, it's going to keep on going. It's going to keep on repeating. I'm going to keep getting a remainder of 4, 4, 4, and I'm going to keep putting 6s up here. So I'm actually done. I'm just going to put a repeating symbol on top. So remember, anytime you start dividing and the number starts to repeat, you put the little bar on top. It shows that it's repeating. So this answer is, now we were dealing with percentages. It said what percent. So this is 16.6 repeating percent. And then the last one is finding the whole. So this one's a little bit more of a word problem. On a survey, 60% like to walk, so 60% walk. 540 people like to walk, so this also represents people that walk. 540 people like to walk. So both of these are representing the same thing right now. These are both people that like to walk. The question is how many people were surveyed. So when you survey people, that's everybody that you're asking the question. Do you like to walk or do you not like to walk? So that's our total. This is our total. So here, when they set up the WKU, I personally wouldn't put part and whole. There's nothing wrong with doing that. You can. I would put my part is how many like to walk. If I can spell. And then my whole is how many people were surveyed or how many people there were total. I like to just put total. So again, that's just what I would do for my word ratio. Walk over total. Walk is my part, total is my whole. And then they knew the percent, 60%, so because I know the percentage, they put 60 over 100. Always put the percentage over 100. And then 540 people, it wasn't the total. It's a big number, but it's not the total. 540 actually represented those that like to walk. So that's the purpose of this word ratio, is that you match it up. So when you're trying to figure out, because this is the hardest part, is knowing where does that number go? Does it go on top or bottom? You just match it up. 540 wasn't the total. It said 540 people like to walk. And that was the top of my ratio. So this is my W, my K, and my U. So I'm going to take this K and the U, the actual proportion, and let's solve it. All right, and then now we are going to try to find that relationship going across from 60 to 540. Now, hopefully you can see that relationship, but if you can't, let's try to simplify first, because I definitely don't want to cross multiply these two and have to divide by 60. So I'm going to simplify this. So again, both, just like on number 1, both of these numbers end in a 0, so I can very easily cross those off like that. It's the same thing as dividing by 10. So 6 over 10 equals 540 over x. Now technically this can be simplified even more. It's not in simplest form, but I know I can get from 6 to 54. I know that relationship. So if I know that, all I have to do is figure out what I multiply by and do the same thing at the bottom down here. So this is times 9. Now be careful. 6 times 9 is 54, but we're not getting 54, we're getting 540, so we need to actually multiply by 90 instead of 9. And we're going to do the same thing down here. These numbers have to be the same whenever you have that relationship, whether you're multiplying or dividing. You have to do the same thing to top and bottom. So 6 times 90 is 540, so 10 times 90 will get me my answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 9 times 1, which gets me 9, and then there's 2 zeros in my numbers, so I'm going to put 2 zeros in my answer. So 900 people surveyed. All right, so again, we could have immediately cross multiplied 540 times 100 and then divided by 60. I could have cross multiplied at this point, 540 times 10 and divide by 6. But if you can ever find that relationship going across, that's the easiest thing. It eliminates the dividing altogether. So 6 times 9 got me 54, but I wanted 540, so I added a 0. And then do the same thing at the bottom. 10 times 9, 90 gets me my answer of 900 people surveyed. All right, that is it for today's lesson. We are done with proportions. If y'all have any questions over anything, please don't hesitate to ask. Remember, my remote kids, I would really like to speak with y'all for just a couple minutes on Zoom. So if you can please join me on Zoom at some point today, I would really appreciate it. Y'all have a great day, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.